In today's video, I want to share a story that begins in the quiet of winter. A story about love, dependence, and the invisible boundaries that sometimes blur when we need someone too much. It's not a story of scandal, not one of betrayal in the way most people might imagine. Instead, it's about something quieter, subtler, but in many ways more powerful. The kind of emotional closeness that can begin as comfort and slowly transform into a weight too heavy for two people to carry. The night was cold. The kind of cold that doesn't just sting your skin, but seeps into your bones. The kind that lingers in your joints and makes your thoughts feel slower, heavier, as if even your mind is reluctant to move. Outside, the wind swept through the narrow streets of our neighborhood, rattling the bare branches like a warning that winter was only tightening its grip. Inside the house, the kitchen smelled of simmering vegetables and broth. I stood at the stove, slowly stirring a pot of soup, watching the steam rise in curling tendrils that fogged the window above the sink. The condensation collected there, running down in streaks like tiny rivers. The way breath fogs up glass on a frozen morning. My name is Diane. I'm 45 years old. And for most of my adult life, I've been a single mother. My son, Ryan, is 23 now. He's my only child, my companion, my anchor, and for many years, my reason to push through when life felt impossibly heavy. If I'm honest, he has been more than a son to me. In ways I didn't always recognize, or maybe refused to recognize. I leaned on him too much. We were close. Not just close in the way most single mothers and sons can be, but closer than that. There was a bond between us that seemed to go beyond the usual rhythms of parent and child. He knew when I was hurting, even when I tried to hide it. He knew when my smile was forced, when my exhaustion had settled too deep into my bones, when loneliness whispered through the cracks of my day. For years, it was just the two of us against everything, through storms both literal and emotional, through late bills and late-night fevers, through quiet dinners and noisy arguments, through birthdays we celebrated with store-bought cakes and Christmas mornings where the only gift we truly gave each other was our presence. We survived together. We healed together. And in some ways, maybe we held on to each other too tightly. But that winter, things began to shift. Ryan had come home late again that night. The front door creaked open, letting in a gust of frozen air, and he stepped into the warm kitchen with his backpack slung low on one shoulder. His face was pale, his eyes heavy, the kind of tired that isn't just about missing a few hours of sleep. It was a tiredness that seemed etched into his whole being. He'd been burning himself out, I knew that. Balancing a full-time job at a used bookstore, while also pushing through the final stretch of his literature degree. It was his dream. His love for books had been something we'd shared since he was a boy, and I had supported him every step of the way. But lately, I could see the strain in him. It wasn't just exhaustion from work or study. Something deeper seemed to be pulling at him, something he wasn't ready to put into words. "You look terrible," I said softly, not as an insult, but as a mother who couldn't ignore what she saw. He gave me a tired smile. "Didn't sleep much," he admitted. His voice was quieter than usual, the edges of it frayed. Then he added something that unsettled me. "Just needed to be here with you." There was a tremble in his voice I hadn't heard before. My instinct was immediate. "Why don't you lie down in my room?" I offered. "It's warmer in there. I'll bring you some soup." Normally, Ryan would have waved me off, insisting he was fine. But that night, he didn't even try. He just nodded, too weary to pretend otherwise. I grabbed a thick blanket and followed him upstairs. Watching him sink onto the bed, his body folding with exhaustion, I felt a wave of nostalgia crash over me. Without thinking, I tucked him in the way I used to when he was a little boy, smoothing the blanket over his shoulders. The gesture felt natural, familiar, almost comforting to me, but there was something different in the air. I sat down beside him and brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. His eyes fluttered closed, and for a moment I let myself feel it. That sense of safety, of being needed, of everything being exactly as it once was. But when he opened his eyes again, I noticed something new in them. Something searching. Something troubled. "Mom," he whispered. His voice was so soft it almost blended into the sound of the wind outside. "Do you ever feel like we're too close?" The question hit me harder than I could have prepared for. Not because it was inappropriate, not in the way some might jump to conclude, No, what shook me was that I had felt it too. That weight. That tension. That quiet awareness of something unspoken between us. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't physical. But it was consuming. Emotional. A kind of dependence that felt deeper than it should be. I cleared my throat, trying to steady myself. I think, sometimes we rely on each other more than we should, I admitted. Ryan looked away, his jaw tightening. I don't really have anyone else, he murmured. The truth in that sentence pierced me. He was right. And yet, I knew that was the very reason something needed to change.